Hello, in this third lesson of the series, can we learn how to factorize expressions? And we can start with a simple factorization method where we use the highest common factor. So for example, let's say you have a question like this, 6x plus 12, then you are told to factorize it. How do you go about it? The first step is to find a number that can divide 6 and 12 without any remainder. In this case, I can take 6 like this, and then 12 like this, and then I start dividing both of them by 2 because they are divisible by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then 12 divided by 2 is 6. Is there another number which can divide 3 and 6 without any remainder? Yes, 3. 3 because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then 3 divided by 6 is 2. But up to that point, there is no another number that can divide 1 and 2 without a remainder. And even if it was there, it could be 1, and then 1 has no significance here because even if I take 1 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2, it will still be, it will not contribute to anything in that multiplication. So in this case, I just take the values I have here, which is 2 and 3, I multiply them. 2 multiplied by 3, which is 6. And our highest common factor is 6. So now I'll use this 6 to factorize this equation, and how I go about it is I put 6 like this 6 which is the highest common factor, then in this x, since I have already put x, I can put in brackets and then put this x because 6 multiplied by x is 6x. Then again plus, you see, 6, I ask myself which number will I multiply by 6 to get 12? And that number is 2. So 6 multiplied by 2 is 12. And that's how you factorize that question. So the answer becomes 6 into brackets x plus 2, and if you expand this, you'll get this. So if I try to say 6 multiplied by x, it will be 6x, this one, then plus 6 multiplied by 2, it will be 12, this one. So that's how we factorize using the highest common factor, but we can try another example. We can try this question 2, where we are told to factorize 4x squared plus 6x using the highest common factor. But in this case, if you note, we have the numerical values, which is 4 and 6, and then we have x on both sides. 6 as x, then 4 also as x, which is squared. So here we'll find the highest common factor for the numerical values and also for the algebraic variables, which in this case is x. So let me copy this in my board. So we start by finding the HCF of 4 and 6. As usual, the way we did the other one, 4, 6, then I can divide like this. And then I start with 2 because 4 and 6 are divisible by 2. So I get 2 here. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Then again, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And up to there is no another number which I can divide these two values, and it doesn't leave a remainder because 2 and 3, there is no common number which can divide these two values. So for numerical, in our numerical case, the HCF becomes 2. But then we have x squared here and x here. So we also need to find the HCF of those two, where we have x squared and we also have x, and we repeat the same like this. And the first step here is we have x and we have x. So I can start with x, divide each of these by x, and x squared divided by x remains 1x. So here, x squared divided by x will remain x. And then again, this x here divided by x will be 1. So x divided by x will be 1. And since there is no another value which we can divide x and 1 without any remainder, in this case, it would be 1, but we don't need 1 because it will contribute nothing to the multiplication. We retain our HCF for the variables is x. And you see, for the numerical values, we had 2. Now for the algebraic values, we have x. So we take the one for the numerical, which is 2. We multiply by the one for the algebraic, which is x. And now it becomes 2x. And now that we have the combined HCF, now we can factorize our equation here. And the first step is just to put the HCF outside the brackets like this. Then in brackets, I come here and take this 2x, this 4x squared, and divide by this 2x. So if I do so, do it here. If I take 4x squared and divide by 2x, this x will go with this one, and I remain with 1x, which is 1x there, and then by 2, 1 by 2, 2. So it becomes 2 multiplied by this x, which is 2x. And as you can see, if I take 2x multiplied by 2x, it will be 4x squared. And the same, I go for 6x, I take 6x, I divide with our HCF, which is 2x, and in this case, this x goes with this one, then by 2, 1 by 2, 3. So it becomes 3. So I add plus 3 here, and as you can see, 2x multiplied by 3 is 6x. And that becomes our factorized expression. Can you pause for a second as we go to the next ambit and advanced concept and think if you really understand what we were doing? So now we can learn how to factorize expressions which are monic. In this case, we call them monic quadratics. So for a start, a monic quadratic is an expression where the coefficient of x squared is 1. Like in this case, for example, x squared plus 7x plus 10, the coefficient of x squared here is 1. We don't need to write it here because 1 multiplied by x squared, it will still be x squared, and that's why you can not see 1 here. If you want, you can just write it. Then, if you see the next x here, we have 7x, so the coefficient of x is 7 and then plus 10. But basically, a monic quadratic is one where the coefficient of x squared is 1. So can we try to factorize this one? X squared plus 7x plus 10. So to understand better, can we use this expression here where we have a, which is the coefficient of x squared, but in our case we said it is 1, so it has no impact. Then b, this b is the coefficient of this x here, which is not squared, and then this c represents this 10 here. So we need to find two numbers such that when we add those two numbers, let me call those two numbers m and n. We need to find these two numbers such that when we add them, m plus n, they will give us b, which in our case is 7. And when we multiply them, they will give us c. So m multiplied by n will give us c, and in our case c is 10. So which two numbers, when you multiply them, gives you 7, when you multiply them gives you 10, and when you add them, then give you 7. That is 5 and 2. because if I take 5 and give it m, then n2, if I take 5 plus 2 is equals to 7, this one. Then if I take 5 multiplied by 2, that will give me 10. That one. So now that I have the two numbers, I know they are 5 and 2, or 2 and 5. I can use these two values to factorize this question. So what I need to do is to just divide this value at the center using these two numbers. And how do you do that? You start by the normal x squared, of course. This starts the equation. Then instead of putting 7x here, now I'll put 5x, then plus 2x, because 5x plus 2x is 7x. So I've not changed anything, I've just written this 7x in terms of these two numbers, where 5x plus 2x takes on the place of that 7x. Then finally I add 10, this one, which is normal. And now that I have written the equation in terms of these two numbers, now I can divide it into two parts like this. And then after dividing it into two parts, I can start with this one, and then I apply my normal factorization, where I find the common factor here. And in my case, I have x here and I have x squared here. So my common factor would be x outside, then x, because x multiplied by x will be x squared, then plus this 5, because x multiplied by 5, it will be 5x, then this addition here plus, but I have 2 here and I have 10. 10 doesn't have x, so any number which when I multiply by 2 would give me 10 would be around 5. So I can take these two outside, then in brackets I remain with x, because 2 multiplied by x is 2x, then plus 5, because 2 multiplied by 5 is 10, like that. Now that I have this one looks like this, I can just take 1 and then this one x plus 2. So it becomes x plus 2, this one. And then out of these two, I just take 1 and say x plus 5. And that becomes the answer for that question. Let us try to solve another question here. This one. Here we have x squared minus 5x minus 14. As usual, we start with finding a number, two numbers, such that when we add them, they'll give us this value here, which we said it is b. And then when we multiply them, they'll give us this number here, which we said is c. And in this case, we have positives, and in our case it is negative, so positive multiplied by negative is negative, so we have nothing to worry about that. So our first step is we need two numbers, say m and n, such that when I take m plus n, they will give me negative 5, because it is negative here. And when I take m multiplied by n, they'll give me negative 14 here. So what are those two numbers? I think the two numbers 7 and 2, because negative 7 and 2, because if I take negative 7, I add 2, I'll get negative 5, which is what we want here. And then if I take negative 7 multiplied by 2, I'll get negative 14. So our two numbers are negative 7 and 2. 7 and 2. And now that I have the two numbers, I just need to write the middle term, this 5x, in terms of these two values. So what I do is I start with x squared, has no problem here. Then minus 7x plus 2x And if you try to take minus 7x plus 2x is minus 5x, which is this one. So I've not changed anything. I've just written this 5x in terms of our two numbers, which were negative 7 and 2. Then minus 14, this one. So from there, I can divide this question into two parts like this. And then I factor out any common factor here. And in this case, common factor is just x. And then into x, because x by x is x squared. Then minus 7, because x multiplied by 7 is 7x. Then plus this plus here. Then the common factor here is just 2, because we have x minus 2 multiplied by 7, because 2 multiplied by 7 is negative 14. So, since this one and this one are the same, I'll pick one and then add this one, which is x plus 2. Then I'll pick one of these, which is x minus 7, and that becomes the factorized form of this question here. Sometimes you can have some questions which are not monic. We call them non-monic quadratics. And what that means is the coefficient of x squared here is not 1. It is another value, but not 1. So in this case, for example, here it is 2. So 2x squared plus 7x plus 3, and then you are told to factorize this one. The process of factorizing is just the same. Let me show you. First, we need to find a number such that when we add those two numbers, m and n, for example, m and n, they'll give us 7 as usual, which is b. So in our case, b is 7. And now, here in this case, c changes a bit. Instead of putting it as 3, now we take the coefficient of x squared, which is, for example, here 2, and in this equation it is a, so a multiplied by c. So those two numbers, when we multiply them, now in this case they should not give us this c only, they should give us a c. So for example, in our case, they should give us 2 multiplied by 3, which is 6. So when we multiply m and n, they should give us 6 and not 3, as we used to do with the previous monic questions. So, with two numbers, which when we multiply them give us 7, and when we multiply them then give us 6, and when we add them then give us 7, I think the numbers would be 6 and 1, because 6 multiplied by 1 is 6, and then 6 plus 1 is 7. And now that we have the two numbers, which of course are 6 and 1, we can factorize them into term using these two values. So as usual, we start with 2x squared. Then the middle term we write as plus 6x plus x, because 6x plus x is 7x, then plus 3. This 3. And then we divide the equation into two parts like this. And the first is to factorize the common factor, the HCF here. And first of all, I can see we need to have x outside, because we have x here and x squared here. So 1x can go outside. Then we have 2 here and 6. And 2 is divisible by 6. 2 by 3 is 6. So we can take 2 outside like this. Then we have inside here, we are remaining with x only, because 2x multiplied by x, it will be 2x squared, then plus 3, because 2x multiplied by 3, it will be 6x, then again plus this one. Here x plus 3, there is no common factor, so I can just say it is 1 into x plus 3, because if I take 1 multiplied by x, it will be x. 1 multiplied by 3, it will be 3, so it will not change anything here. So now that this x plus 3 and this x plus 3 are common, I can just pick one and then add this one. which is 2x plus 1, then pick one of these, which is x plus 3. And that becomes the factorization of this question here. So, can you try this question 6? And if you have any question, you can ask me in the comment section. You can ask me any question, I'll try to answer. And bye for now. Let us meet in the next lesson.